The concept of a devil has been around in modern culture for many centuries. The fact that there is such an evil entity lurking among us is a tactic that a lot of people use to scare other people into doing what's good, or for people to have a scapegoat for everything that goes wrong in their lives. That being said, whenever people do think of the devil, they might think of him in over-the-top ways, maybe like sitting on a throne in hell, torturing souls for all eternity. What people might not think of, however, is the devil taking a stroll through a quiet, snowy night in a random town in Europe. But that just might be what happened a few centuries ago. The year is 1855 in Devon, England. The winter has been harsh. It's actually been one of the coldest winters we've had in decades, and people are really feeling it. Unlike the past years, the snow this year is not melting, and instead of replacing old snow with new snow, everything is just stacking up instead. There was so much snow, in fact, that you had to take precautionary measures in order to avoid being locked into your own house by the snow overnight. Now, people were already fed up with this winter, until February 8th that is, when things got a little bit weirder. On that cold, snowy night, people reported hearing a lot of noises outside their house. They heard rattling, they heard running, they heard scuffling, and people didn't really know what it was. A lot of people thought it was just the wind or an animal scurrying by, and they just kind of went to sleep and forgot about it. It wasn't until the next morning, however, that they noticed something extremely strange. Instead of seeing the ocean of white that they normally see due to the snow, they saw tracks in the snow. Now, the funny thing is that these tracks actually look like hooves. The funny thing is that the track of hooves were only one line. Instead of having multiple rows like an animal with multiple legs, this was just one row of them. Now, people kind of wanted to know what this was, so they started to investigate around, and they tried to follow them and see where they led. But what they realized is that the tracks didn't stop, and they kept on going. There were actually reports of these tracks being seen in the counties around them, and they still continued farther. Some say that these were up to 100 miles. Now, this is strange because not one animal can walk that much in one night, and these tracks were not there the day before, so people started to wonder what it could be. Now, people began to investigate these tracks even more and see where exactly this creature went about and what exactly he was doing. And what they found was something that's very disturbing. The tracks seemed to not stop in front of any obstacle that was put in front of it. The tracks could be seen on top of drain pipes, on top of haystacks, even on top of houses. And instead of going around objects like a normal creature would, it would just get on top of it and continue walking. Now, these footprints were actually named the Devil's Footprints, or the Tracks of Satan, and a lot of people actually believe that the devil visited them that night. The town people of Devon were actually so scared, in fact, that they did not venture out after midnight after this event occurred. Now, there are a couple of theories on what this might be besides the devil, and one of them is that they were rodents. Now, these rodents were small, and due to the large amount of snow, they could not walk through the ground, so instead they had to jump over and over again to get through the snow. Others believe that the government had an experimental balloon that they released in the town that night, and the balloon had two shackles on it that would drag across the floor and create the footprints. And some people actually believe that this information was covered up because the balloon actually did some damage to some houses, and to avoid having to pay that, they just stayed quiet. So what do you guys think? Do you think the devil actually visited England that night? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you have any suggestions for any future videos, make sure to leave that in the comments below as well. I know I take a lot of time to upload some videos, but they do take some good amount of research, and I do want to find topics that a lot of you might not know about. So if there is a topic that you want to know more about, or perhaps you have a topic that you already know about but you want to share with others, be sure to leave that in the comments. This has been Sinister Stories, and y'all have a good night.